France has more need of me than I of France. So said Napoleon Bonaparte to the Senate in 1814. This is the chief example of Napoleon's arrogance. Napoleon was many things. He was arrogant, bold, charismatic, insecure, a military genius, and maybe a bit crazy. You might think that these characteristics were unique to him, but Napoleon exhibited some of the same qualities as other leaders who tried to take over the world. Napoleon was born on the island of Corsica in the Mediterranean Sea. He was born on August 15, 1769. Napoleon had a somewhat normal childhood, and at the age of 9 he entered a French military school at Braine-le-Château. He trained there until January 1785, when at the age of 16 Napoleon received a commission in the French army as a second lieutenant of artillery. He joined the artillery regiment and for a little while attended the Royal Artillery School in Auxonne near Dole. In 1791 he was promoted to first lieutenant and in 1792 to captain. 1789 was the outbreak of the French Revolution. Napoleon knew that the revolution was an opportunity for him to gain military power. In 1793 he was promoted to brigadier general, after the decisive part he played in the siege of Toulon. He married Josephine de Beauharnais in 1796. After campaigning in Italy in 1796 and 1797, he inspired the loyalty of the entire army by promising them honor, glory, and riches. After that, his army had a number of victories, which resulted in Austria signing the Peace of Campo Formio. After this, Napoleon had totally gained the trust of the French people. He made many political friends and seized control of the government on November 9, 1799, in what is known as the coup d'etat of 18th Brumaire. He introduced a constitution that was approved by the French people. This constitution replaced the Directory with a 3-member consulate. Napoleon was the first consul, while the other 2 served merely as advisors to him. After 10 years of civil disorder, the French people needed a strong and powerful leader. This provided Napoleon with the opportunity to rule France freely as a dictator. He was named first consul for life and later was named emperor. He crowned himself emperor on December 2, 1804, in the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris. Napoleon, the man, had many qualities that paralleled other great leaders and conquerors. One of these was his great charisma. The definition of charisma is being capable of inspiring great personal allegiance. Napoleon is an example of this because he was known for inspiring his troops to fight for him and win many battles. An example is the Battle of Lodi, where Napoleon fought against Austrian troops. In this battle, soldiers had to cross a well-fortified bridge. The task seemed very hard, but Napoleon fought right alongside his men, facing much peril himself, and encouraged them to the point where they were confident enough to storm the bridge. After the battle, his men had the utmost respect for him. Most soldiers under charismatic leaders fight not because they understand or agree with what the leader is telling them to do, but because of who the leader is. Another quality of Napoleon was his arrogance. Napoleon was arrogant because conquest is an arrogant action. Napoleon once said, "A man like me troubles himself little with the lives of 1,000,000 men." His arrogance cannot be shown in a more obvious way than his Egypt campaign of 1798 to 1799. This campaign was arrogant because it was commonly known to be suicide to bring a European army to Egypt to fight Egyptians on their own turf. But Napoleon went and did it anyway, and in the beginning he was successful. He said, I was full of dreams. I saw myself founding a new religion, marching into Asia riding an elephant, a turban on my head, and in my hand the new Koran. It wasn't until later that the British Admiral Nelson blew up all of Napoleon's ships, stranding him and his army in Egypt. One of the most famous traits about Napoleon was his military genius. In fact, his military tactics are still studied today in military academies. Napoleon was brilliant at military strategy, although he did not invent any new military tactics. He just made the best of the ones that were already available. It is said that one of Napoleon's best military strategies was to win the loyalty of his men. Napoleon believed in moving quickly and decisively to keep up morale. Plus, he thought it would increase their chances of victory. When he was fighting an enemy, he normally waited for them to divide or for their army to stretch out. He was also known to always make the best of the geography of the land. Napoleon always liked to see everything that was going on during a battle, and what he couldn't see, he had reported to him directly. He felt a kind of pleasure and joy in war. He liked the adventure and to see great numbers of men doing exactly what he wanted. This might surprise you about the great Napoleon, but he was actually rather insecure. Napoleon was bullied as a child when he was sent to school in France because he was short, and being from the island of Corsica, he could speak little French. Napoleon remained short for the rest of his life. In his adulthood, Napoleon stood only 5 feet 2 inches tall, which was very short for a French general. He was given the nickname Le Petit Corporal, or the Little Corporal. Other imperialistic leaders shared these qualities with Napoleon. Adolf Hitler, like Napoleon, was a charismatic leader. Hitler managed to convince an entire nation to follow him in creating one super race. He was also arrogant in thinking he could win on more than one front. Genghis Khan was a military genius like Napoleon. He used complex military strategies to unite the tribes of Mongolia. He was ruthless and unforgiving. It would be possible to say that even George Bush can be compared to Napoleon in that they shared the same insecurities. According to Mina Hamilton, writing for Dissident Voice, George Bush may have been waging war on Iraq to prove to the world his manhood. Napoleon and other imperialistic leaders have in common the traits of charisma, military brilliance, arrogance, and a little insecurity. While these traits helped these leaders be successful, it may also have contributed to their downfall. Will George Bush suffer the same fate?